How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's stick mobility class. I am Coach Ray. Thank you for joining me. So for today's class, we are going to need access to 2 long sticks and 1 short stick. So we're going to need access to all 3. You also notice here that to my left, I have technically 3 kettlebells in total, because we are going to be using the kettlebells for our strength training portion. We're still working on that superficial back line, so we are going to be working on some hinge-specific type of movements. One of those movements is actually going to be a single leg RDL. The second movement is actually going to be a kettlebell good morning. And so we'll kind of work through some of that. We'll add in supersets with hitting those obliques, hitting the core a little bit, just so we get everything working all at once. So we're really going to light up that torso in that midsection today. So I'm going to start off with the short stick because I want to go through a full body mobilization. So let's go ahead and get to it. So I'm going to step back. It'll warm up the feet and ankles first, so we're going to kind of blast with this a little fast here. So I'm going to have the short stick in front of me, lined up with my center line. I want the bottom of the stick angled in towards me, so it's going in line with my natural arm drive here. I want my feet a little wider than shoulder width, toes pointed forward, and I'm going to get into a horse stance. I'm going to drop down just a little bit, make sure my spine is nice and tall here. Now from here, what I want to do is I want to bring my heels up nice and high, so bring both heels up off the floor. Level of the torso and the hips don't change. Bring them back down, nice and slow. Then back up again. You should have all 5 toes in contact with the floor here, folks. Back down, nice and slow. Up again. Good. Back down, nice and slow. Come back up. Let's go a few more. Down. Up. Good. Down. Up. Excellent. One more time. Down and up. Excellent. Back down nice and slow and ease off. Perfect. Now we're going to go through pelvic tilts. So again, kind of turn to the side here. I want to have my feet wider than shoulder width still, stick is still angled in towards me. The main objective here is that as I start to do a posterior tilt, I want to drive the stick down harder. So we're going to start at about 20% tension. As we do a posterior tilt, we're going to drive the stick down to 40%. As we come into anterior tilt, we're going to ease off back to 20%. So from here, get down to a horse stance, spine up nice and tall, stacked over the pelvis. Drive the stick down 20% from a neutral position. Now we do a posterior tilt. Squeeze those glutes, drive those knees apart. Driving the stick down harder. Good. Anterior tilt, easing off to 20%. Drive the stick down harder. Posterior tilt. Squeeze the glutes. Anterior tilt, easing off to 20%. Posterior tilt. Excellent. Anterior tilt. Posterior tilt. Anterior tilt. One more time. Posterior tilt. Excellent. Anterior tilt. Ease off. Take a second. Now we're going to do lateral tilt. We're going to face forward here. Get back to that same position. Go ahead and switch your hands. Hands still stacked about chest height here. Squat down a bit. I'm doing a posterior pelvic tilt. Drive that stick down 30%. Keep that constant tension. Bump the right hip up. You should feel that right glute tighten. Bump the left hip up. Good. Bump the right hip up. Left hip up. Right hip up. Left hip. Right hip. Left. One more time each way. Breathe. Right hip. And left. Excellent. Back to center. And ease off. Good. We're going to place the short stick down. We're going to pick up 1 long stick for now. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of prep for that hip hinging, at least from the single leg position. So we're going to have the stick behind our back, But instead of having to stick behind our mid back, I'm actually gonna have it at our low back here. And the reason being is because I wanna make sure that as I go into that single leg hinge, that I'm actually utilizing some pressure on the stick to keep my low back neutral, sorry. So, I'm gonna get set up here. I'm gonna start with my left foot grounded. So my right foot is gonna be hovering off the ground the entire time. Have the stick in my low back, arms are out as wide as I can possibly get them, like so. And so from here, I wanna keep a slight bend to my left knee, and I'm going to go into a hip hinge, driving that right heel back. I wanna try to maintain balance the best that I can, keeping a neutral spine. Then I'm gonna come back up. Excellent. Let's go again. Drive that right heel back. We're not pulling apart or shortening a stick. Instead, it's more of a marker. Back up. Excellent. Let's go again. We're going to drive those hips back. Up. One more time. Drive those hips back. Up. Ease off. Excellent. Now, as I turn forward here, what you're probably going to see, or what you should see, is that I'm not moving the stick. It shouldn't be going this way. It shouldn't be wobbly, right? If my hip starts to open up as I go, the stick's going to start to rotate. So that's another good thing about having on the low back. It allows us to stay more true to the movement. So keep it at the low back, hands still in the same spot. Now my right foot's going to be grounded. Make sure you grab it to ground with that foot here. I'm going to hover that left foot off the floor, and I'm going to hinge. Drive that left heel back. You want that stick parallel to the floor. Back up. Excellent. We got 3 more. Drive that left heel back. Dorsally flex that ankle. Up. It's 2. Go again. Up. 3. Let's go one more time. Up. 4. Excellent. Good. So it's a really good way to see how balanced you are as you're actually going into the single leg RDL, because some people don't have that awareness, right? So now we're going to get into working with thoracic rotation. And so for this one here, I'm actually just going to go with a wider than shoulder width stance. We're going to go back to that horse stance here. I'm going to have the stick actually behind my right heel. I'm going to be rotating towards my right side. As I do that, I'm going to reach across with the left hand. So if I turn to the side here, sticks behind my right heel, have my right hand about face height here. Now from this position, the stick is starting out to my side. I want to kind of squeeze my glutes, lock my lower back into extension, or lock my lower back into neutral, drive the stick down lightly, and I'm going to rotate the stick back behind me, reach across that left hand. So I want to keep my right hip facing forward. I want to drive that hip forward. Then I'm going to come back to center. We're going to do that again. So driving that stick down about 20%, rotate back, reach across with the left, driving that stick down 20%, bring it back in. Excellent. Let's go again. Rotate. Excellent. Let's go one more. Rotate. Good. Back to center and ease off. So adding in driving the stick down also allows us to connect to those lateral tissues and that oblique here. It is involved with your rotations, folks. So let's get back into that horse stance here. Stick's now behind the left foot, hand is about face height. I'm gonna squat down a little bit, make sure those glutes are nice and tight. Drive the stick down 20%, rotate the stick back, reach across with the left or the right hand. Good. Then rotate again. remember to drive that left hip forward. So you're not tempted to rotate it back. Rotate to the left, reach across to the right. Back to center. Let's go one more time, folks. Heel driving that stick down. Excellent. Back to center and ease off. So now I want to get into some ninja flow. And here, I really want to focus on pulling the stick apart, making sure we're trying to lengthen and create as much tension on that posterior chain as we can possibly get without hurting ourselves. So I'm going to take a relatively wide stance. You can always adjust your stance. You can always adjust your hand height as well. It's going to depend on what you have access to and what feels best. I'm going to have the bottom of the stick on the inside of my right foot here. And I have both feet angled out a bit. I'm going to have my right hand about face level, forehead to eye level. So this is a good place to start typically. So from here, I want to drive the stick down and I'm going to hinge. I want the stick to come in alignment with my rib cage here. So I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to place it at the bottom of the stick, thumb facing down towards the floor. I'm going to pull the stick apart and I'm going to drive off that right leg, lunging to my right. So I'm getting that thoracic rotation here. Back to center. Do it again. Drive off that right foot, lunge to the left. Make sure you're driving those hips back. Back up. Let's go again. Keep pulling the stick apart. Do not lose that tension. It's 3. Let's go 2 more. Breathe. Back up. One more time, folks. Drive off that right foot. Back to center. Let go with that left hand. Come up nice and slow. And relax. Switch over to the left side here. So same setup. Lightly drive that stick down. Gonna hinge the hips back. Stick comes out to the side, right? Going towards, it should be in line with that rib cage here. Reach across the right hand, grab the thumb facing down towards the floor, pull the stick apart, lunge to the right, driving off that left leg. Back to center. Good. Lunge to the right, drive off that left foot. Back to center. Go again. Breathe. Good. Back to center. Let's go again. That's 4. One more time here, folks. Hinge back. Good. Back to center. Let go with the right hand. Slowly come up. Excellent. Now wiggle your feet in. And perfect. Good. So, kind of went through the warm up. Want to go a little quick. Just really focus more so on the feet, hips, and the spine. So now we're going to get into the strength training phase. This is where we're going to use the kettlebells. So the 2 yellow ones are 16 kilos. The lighter blue one is, I believe, 10 kilos. So really not that heavy, but the amount of work we're going to be doing is actually going to make it pretty challenging. So we are going to be supersetting things. So we're going to first start off with a single leg RDL, working on superficial back line. We're trying to get the hamstrings. We want to make sure the glutes fire. You want to make sure that back is nice and stable. From there, we're going to get into a standing plank, all right? That's going to be the first superset. The second one is going to be a good morning. So we're going to use the lighter kettlebell for that good morning, and we're going to superset that with a rotational drill specifically. So I do want to kind of utilize at least getting some form of rotation. So I'm going to use the ramp, has something stable for me to press into, has them on the floor here. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to grab the 2 yellow kettlebells. Make sure you pick up everything safely. So I'm gonna start on my right leg. So I'm going to turn this way. And now my left foot is what's going to be hovering off the floor. Now, as I do this, again, the main thing is we want to make sure that we're keeping a nice neutral spine. We want to make sure that the right knee has a soft bend to it. And we're also controlling the range of motion the entire time. We're going to go 5 repetitions per side. So I'm going to grip the ground with my right foot, hover my left, keeping both the kettlebells down, keeping everything nice and tight. I'm going to start to hinge, driving that left heel back, go down as far as I can, pause for 1 second, come back up, and I'm gonna bring my left foot through. Let's go again, hinge. Good, stay nice and tight, come up, bring that left leg through, hinge. Good, up, 3, 2 more. Up, 4, oh, 1 more time, hinge, up, 5. Now we're going to switch sides here. So I'm going to turn forward for this, left foot's going to be grounded, right foot's going to be hovering. Same thing, always remember to make sure you keep control of the hips. So hinge, up, 1. Hinge, up, 2, hinge, up, 3, 2 more, hinge, up, 4, 1 more time, hinge, up, 5. Excellent. I'm going to set these down, and I'm going to pick up the 2 long sticks here. So like I mentioned, we're doing a standing plank. So I'm going to step forward. So you can't see my feet, but my feet are actually going to be about hip width apart, toes are pointed forward here. I'm going to have the sticks in line with my center foot, and I'm going to have the sticks directly in front, and I have my hands at about shoulder height. From here, what I want to do, I want to make sure I'm up nice and tall, drop the rib cage down, keep the arms straight, drive those sticks down at 60%, hold for 10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and ease off. Excellent. I'm going to turn to the side. We got 2 more here. You want to make sure you're staying up nice and tall, so no bent knees. Keep those knees locked out. Same thing, arms straight, rib cage down, 60%, push. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ease off. Excellent. Let's go 1 more time. Arms straight, ribs down, sit up nice and tall, squeeze the glutes, drive those sticks into the floor. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and ease off. Excellent. Good. We're going to go another set again. So, attacking 2 different ways, right? Work on that superficial back line, working on that posterior chain. At the same time, I would like to mix in a little core so we're getting both aspects here. So pick up the kettlebell safely. If you only have access to 1 kettlebell, have the kettlebell in a hand opposite of the leg that's grounded. So I got my right foot down, kettlebell to the side here, hinge, drive that left heel back, up, 1, hinge, up, 2, hinge, up, 3, up, 4, 1 more time, hinge, up, 5, good, it's going to switch sides. So you'll probably notice that I'm looking at the ground or looking kind of in front. That in order to have a good focal point for me to focus on, so it allows me to help with my balance. It is a good thing to think about if you're losing balance a lot. Same thing, left foot grounded, kettlebells down, right foot back, up, 1, hinge, up, 2, up, 3, 2 more, hinge, try to create that tall spine, up, 4, one more time, up, 5, good. Place the kettlebells down, grab the 2 long sticks, we're gonna do that same thing again. Feet are right about hip width, toes forward, sticks in line with the midfoot. Let's actually bring the hands up a little higher, so more to face height, so it opens up that rib cage a little more, so you have to work a little harder to keep it down. So, hands are at face height. Remember to keep the legs or knees locked out. Squeeze the glutes, arms straight, ribs down, and drive the stick into the floor 60%. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ease off. Good. Let's go again. Drive the sticks down. 60%. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and ease off. One more time here. Squeeze the glutes, drive the sticks down, push, 60%. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ease off. Excellent, good. Now, this is where we switch gears into the good morning. I'm gonna move these kettlebells over to the side. This is where I grab the lighter kettlebell. So, when talking about the good morning, the main focus here is driving the hips back behind you while maintaining as neutral of a spine as you can manage. Now, if you start to go into the good morning and you're finding that you're bending here, or if you're having trouble getting to a lot of depth, reduce your range of motion. If anything, if you have a wall, it's good to get in front of a wall so you have a target to push your butt towards as you're hinging, all right? So, I'm gonna pick up the light kettlebell and I'm gonna have it in front here. I wanna make sure that I keep my elbows down and pulled in. Now my stance is gonna be a little wider, the hip width, maybe about shoulder width. It's gonna depend on you. I like to go a little bit wider so I actually have room hip hinging wise. And so from here, we're gonna go, let's go 8 repetitions. We're not gonna hold anything at the bottom, but we're just gonna focus on that range of motion. So from here, slowly drive those hips back up, squeeze those glutes, it's 1. Hinge the hips back, up, 2. Make sure you squeeze those glutes on the way up. Back, up, 3, back, up, 4, hips back, up, 5, 3 more, hips back, up, 6, 2 more, up, 7, one more time, back, back, up, 8. Excellent, good. So, like I mentioned, really the main cue, drive those hips back as far as you can. Now we're gonna take the short stick, and again, I want to work on rotation. So, for this, the main thing is I'm actually gonna be facing this way. So for this drill, you can go with the long stick if you have it, but since it's not necessarily needed because the position we're gonna be in is gonna be here, focusing on keeping a nice, good neutral spine, driving the stick down and then rotating side to side here. All right, so I'm gonna face this way, my feet set up. I'm gonna lean back. I'm gonna have my hands stretched out like they're right in front of my chest. And I'm gonna drive the stick down into the wall. You're automatically gonna feel the core tissues turn on. We're only driving down about 40%. I'm gonna rotate the stick to my left, back to center, rotate to the right, back to center, left, back to center, right, back to center, one more time each way, left, back to center, right, back to center, ease off. Excellent. So, the awesome thing about that one, we're used to doing we've done this before, where we've done rotations from that position with the ball. The thing that we're missing from there is actual tension going down that front line. So using the stick to get to that position, driving down, connects all those tissues. Adding in that rotation, that adds more intensity to the oblique system. So it's a really good way to get somebody to learn what it feels like to activate that rectus abdominis, and then get those obliques to work as well. So let's go back to the hinge again. Really good morning, okay? As usual, pick up the kettlebell safely. I'm gonna get the kettlebell right under, pull up to here. All right, my stance is already taken care of before I even pick up the kettlebell. So from here, I like to keep the kettlebell to the chest here, almost like I'm hugging it. Hinge, up, one, hinge, up, two, hinge, drive those hips back, up, three, make sure you're squeezing those glutes, hips back, up, four, hips back, up, five, hips back, up, six, two more, up, seven, last one, hips back, up, eight, good. Take a second, we're gonna go back to that core drill again. Now the main thing as we're going through this here, obviously if it's becoming a little more challenging, or you find that you're not ready to go into the next exercise, don't be afraid to slow it down, catch your breath a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna set up, same way. I'm gonna sit back a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna show it from here so you get a little bit of a different view. So from here, I set up, same thing. I'm in an extended position, keep the spine nice and tall. Drive the stick down 30 to 40%. Rotate to the left, back to center, to the right. Keep it control, back to center, left, back to center, right, back to center, one more time each way, left, back to center, right, back to center, ease off. Excellent. All right, so now we're gonna get into that cool down here, folks. So worked all on the superficial back line, getting on that posterior chain, working on those hip hinging specific movements, working on the core tissues, getting all that in. Now we're gonna go through a cool down where we are gonna stretch out the hamstrings and the hips, and we're gonna get into the spine and the shoulders just a little bit to kind of top it off. So we are gonna focus on the hamstrings first. And so I'm actually gonna use the bench. And I'm gonna grab both long sticks here. So if you have a chair, that'd be perfect to work with as well. And so from here, sorry, I'll actually move this forward. So from here, I'm going to use the end of the bench, and I'm going to place one heel on the bench here. Now, I'm going to start with my right leg. It's important that we make sure we maintain or control the knee as we're doing this here. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to have the sticks up going towards my right heel. And from this position, I'm going to have a pretty good bend to the knee here. I'm going to bring my torso down to touch my femur. So it's resting on my thigh bone. Now from here, what I want to do is I'm going to extend my knee, dorsiflexing my ankle, but I want to keep contact, as much contact as I can between my torso and my femur or my thigh bone. Then I'm going to bend my front knee again, come back forward, okay? Then extend that knee, dorsiflex that ankle. Again, we're trying to maintain contact between the thigh bone and the torso. Come back forward. Let's go again. Extend. Excellent. Back forward. Let's go one more time. Extend. Excellent. Stand up and ease off. Now we're going to switch sides. So the reason why we're going with this is if we have the objective of keeping this angle between the hip as close as we possibly can get it, you'll actually find that there's an increased stretch on the hamstring for this one. So I'm going to have my left foot on the bench, and I'm going to go through that same process. Sticks are angled back. You can always adjust your hands as you need to in order to get the range that allows you to get a good stretch. So torso down to leg bone, drive off that left heel, extend that knee, breathe. Arms are straight, come back up. Let's go again. Drive off that left heel. Try to keep that torso down to the knee. Good. Come back forward. Let's go again. Extend. Excellent. Back forward. Let's go one more time. Drive off that left heel, extend that knee, keep that angle closed. Excellent. Come back up and ease off. Perfect. I'm going to place one stick down because I am actually going to use the bench to get a stretch in the glute as you go along here. So if you have a chair or a bench, this is basically an elevated pigeon stretch here. Now, from here, I'm going to start with my right leg on. And I actually have my ankle off the bench and I have my knee kind of on the outside of the bench here. And so what I want to do is I want to actually have the stick out in front. If you need to have it out to the side, that's okay too. But the main objective is that we're actually driving forward here as we do this. So my left leg, I actually have it kind of, my foot is down, dorsiflexed, and I'm not necessarily focused on extending that knee, but more so just having it planted down so it doesn't move that much. So I'm gonna set the stick up with my center line here. First thing I'm gonna do, drive the knee down. That's gonna activate the tissues on the outside of the hip capsule. And now I'm going to hinge forward, go until you find a good stretch, hold that position. You can adjust your hands as you need to. Good, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna come back up and ease off. Good. We're not creating a ton of tension, We want to activate the tissues that we're trying to stretch, right? So hands are about chest height, same thing. Drive that right knee down, hinge, keep that tension, only going about 30%. Now what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to rotate the stick to the right. And as I do that, my shoulder's also rotating along with it. Now I'm getting an increased stretch on that right glute and hip capsule here. Back to center, up, nice and slow, ease off. Let's go one more time here, folks. Drive that right knee down, hinge. We're not driving the stick down, but it is there for balance and allowing us to hinge forward. Rotate the stick to the right. Breathe. You're probably going to get a stretch in that left lat here if you're a little tight, because we are lengthening that left side, that left lateral line. Come back to the center, come up, and ease off. Excellent. Let's go ahead and switch side here. Switch sides. So left knee or left leg is on a bench. Same thing. I'm going to have that right foot back. So I'll actually turn so you can see what it's like from a different angle. So left leg on the bench, sticks in front, okay? Again, this back leg, this has the ankle dorsiflexed. That leg is down, it's just there for a little stability. Also so this hip doesn't move or turn. So from here, switch your hands about roughly chest height. I'm gonna do that same thing, go through that same process. Drive that left knee down. I'm going to hinge forward as much as I can manage, maintaining a neutral spine, or as neutral as I can possibly get, finding that stretch in that external hip capsule, those external tissues here, external rotation tissues. Okay, should be getting a nice deep stretch here. Come back up. Excellent. Ease off. Now we're going to add in those rotations. Drive that left knee down, hinge, hold here for a second, rotate the stick to the left. As you do that, you should find that your right shoulder is pointed towards the floor. Breathe. Back to center, come up, and ease off. We're going to go one more time. Doing good. Drive that left knee down, hinge. Get that good stretch in that glute. This should feel pretty good here, especially after all the hip hinging. Rotate to the left. Three, two, one. Excellent. Back to center. Come up and ease off. Perfect. Good, 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 good. So now I'm actually going to grab the short stick and I want to get in some kayaking and adding in rotations along with it. So not only do we get the shoulders, but we also get the spine here. So for this, I want to make sure that my feet are pointed forward and I want to have my feet about roughly hip width. So again, this is a short stick, so this is a 5-foot stick. I got my fingertips on the end of the stick here. If you use a long stick, just have your thumbs facing away from one another, gripping out as wide as you can. I'm going to start with my right hand up, and I want to keep both elbows locked out as I do this here. I'm going to drive that right hand through. Excellent. Left hand comes up and over. We're not rotating the spine as of yet. Instead, we're getting the shoulder blades warmed up. Going to get a stretch in the chest, the shoulders. Really just trying to get things moving as best as we can here. So your speed should be matching mine. If you're going faster, slow it down a little bit, okay? Good. Now we're going to start to add in the rotation. So as my left hand comes up and over, I'm going to rotate to my right. Right hand comes up and over, I'm going to rotate to my left. Right. Rotate to the left. right, left, right, left, right, left, and relax and ease off. And I just want to finish off with stretching out the adductors. It's really important that we get those. A lot of people actually tend to have tight adductors and don't necessarily always realize it. So in order to actually attack those adductors, we are going to get into the straddle stretch. So one long stick is what we're going to need here, folks. And I'm going to go to the ground for this. Now, ordinarily, I would go with a pro model since it allows to get a little bit more tension. So for this is going to be dependent on your flexibility and mobility. So I want to be seated, legs out as wide as they can go. You want the stick to be right about where the arch of your foot is. So this allows you to keep it, first of all, stable, keep it from flying back, but also allows you to keep your foot more so pointed up towards the ceiling. You want your toes pointed straight up here. Now from this position, I'm gonna grip the stick at about roughly shoulder width, arm straight, and I'm gonna pull back on the stick to come to a nice, good upright position. Now I'm going to compress the stick, almost like I'm trying to adduct my hips. Gonna get a little bit of activation, only about 20%. Breathe. And ease off. Excellent. If you can, wiggle your feet out a little wider. Rotate the stick a bit. Now we're going to pull the stick again. Same thing. Pull to a nice tall position. Lightly compress on the stick. Now what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to pull my chest down towards the stick, getting an increased stretch in those adductor tissues. You're also going to get a nice little stretch in the hamstrings. Excellent. Ease off. Take a second, rotate that stick. Let's do it again. I'm going to flip my hands so they're now facing up towards the ceiling. Sorry, I should have specified that. So pull the stick back. Nice, good tall position. Add some compression on the stick. Make sure those feet are facing up towards the ceiling. Pull your torso towards the stick. Breathe. Deep breaths. Three, two, one. Slowly ease off. Excellent. Gonna place this stick down here. Get up nice and slow. Hips are probably gonna feel a little loose, a little funny. So that concludes today's stick mobility class, everybody. Thank you for joining me for today's class. Hope everybody had a good one. I wanted to add in some resistance training, specifically with some kettlebells. So if you have kettlebells at home, I hope this was a good workout for you. I'll be sure to catch y'all on the next one. Stay safe and have a good one out there.